Welcome to the Diva Speaks Relationships Talk Show. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I'm super excited to have you back. We are together once again for a brand new series. That's right, a brand new series. I'm so excited to be sharing this with you. Welcome to the Diva Speaks Relationships Talk Show. My name is Angela Patarial, and thank you for checking in, stopping by, and checking out the show. If you haven't had an opportunity, grab a couple of your friends, let them know that you are about to tune in to a brand new series of the Diva Speaks Relationships Talk Show. So thank you for stopping by. I am so excited. And if I haven't had a chance to say the happiest of New Year to you so far, Happy New Year. I hope that your year is going phenomenal. And if it's not, we still got a little bit more time to get it right before the end of the year. And before you know it, we'll be bringing in another year. Yes. I want to thank you to all of my loyal supporters, those of you who have been rocking with me since day one. I want to thank you, those of you who are just now discovering my social media platforms and my television shows, my channels, and you've been supporting. I thank you for your support. There's a lot more in store and there's a lot more to come. Amen. Yes. If you haven't had a chance to check me out on social media, make sure that you do so. You can find me on YouTube, okay, TikTok, Instagram, and Facebook. No matter which one of those platforms that you find me on, it'll direct you or give you a link somewhere on the page, whether it's a video, something that I'm posting, it'll point you in the direction of all the social media platforms that I am on. And so you can stay tuned and stay connected because I need you to do so. I'm not sure where you are watching this show from, but if you haven't had a chance to add the Diva Speaks Relationships Roku channel to your Roku device, make sure that you do so tonight. I'm excited and pleased to announce that if you don't have a Roku television, but you do have a Fire Stick through Amazon, I have a channel over there. Yes, the Diva is constantly expanding and there's more to come, okay? Add my channel. If you don't have Roku, or if you got Roku and you got a Fire Stick because you got it like that, make sure that you find my channel on Amazon Fire and connect with me over there. It's Diva Speaks Relationships TV. Also, my contract is nearing its end for the Now Television Network and the satellite channels, the 7 of them that I have been ministering on. You still have time to check it out. I do believe that I may have a couple of more weeks. I'm not sure how that's going to go, but it is run its course. So for now, you can still catch Diva Speaks Relationships Ministry on the Now Television Network. I do believe I could be standing in error, but you know what? If you can't find it over there, baby, always come home to Diva Speaks Relationships Roku channel because my content is always on my channel if you can't find it anywhere else. Okay. So check it out every Thursday at 5 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. You can find the Diva Speaks Relationships Ministry airing over on the Now Television Network and Intel Satellite Television. Yes, you can. In addition, if you have Spectrum Cable or AT&T Uverse and you want to check out the talk show, okay, make sure that you tune in every second and fourth Friday of the month at 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. If you're here in the Carolinas, because I'm talking to you from the Carolinas, it will be Spectrum Cable Channel 21 at 11 p.m. or AT&T Uverse Channel 99 at 11 p.m. And again, that's every second and fourth Friday of the month. Those are my contractual air times. Those are my contractual dates and air times. So make sure that you check it out. If you're local in Charlotte and you got access to public access TV, which is our Access 21. Never despise the days of small beginnings because, baby, those connections, woo, God is good. Those connections and that type of alignment and networking is what has got me here today. Make sure that you check me out on Access 21 every second and fourth Friday of the month. You can either live stream it if you don't have cable, or you may be your situation is a little bit different right now. If you got Wi-Fi, just go to tvaccess21.com and live stream my show from the station's website, okay? Or Access 21's Roku channel, okay? You can do all of that. I've just provided you with so many different platforms, so many different avenues to watch the Diva Speaks Relationships Talk Show. And again, there is more to come. More Roku channels of coming down the pipeline. And I will be announcing that as, everything is put into place. But I want to just give thanks to God, our Heavenly Father, for making all of this possible. Lord, it feels so good. Yes, it does. So I think that's all of that is out of the way because, I only tape one time. And due to contractual obligations, I cannot talk about some of my resources. But I will say, make sure that you visit the Diva Speaks Relationship official website so you can check out my tools and resources that are available for you in your times of distress in your relationship. If you need a fine tune up, if you see that something is happening and you say, you know what, I want to get ahead of this thing, or a lot has happened and I need to start the healing journey or start the restoration or attempting to reconcile, make sure that you visit my website. I got some great resources over there for you, life-changing resources over there for you, for your relationships. My website, that information will be or should have been at the beginning of the show, definitely on your way out. You can see it, but it is diva-speaks-official.com. Once again, my website address is diva-speaks-official.com. That is my official website. Check it out. You will not be disappointed. You get to know a little bit more about me, where I've been, my appearances, my resume, things that, you will be able to see my track record, and that I'm just not some social media person that just likes to talk. I am not new to this. I'm very, very true to this and committed to the success of relationships and or your healing journey for your next relationship, if it's not that relationship. Amen. Yes. So this is the series that I have taken my time with, and I refuse to begin the production process until I knew exactly the direction that I wanted to go, because I wanted it to be relatable. I wanted it to be something that you guys can sit down and walk through this with me, versus someone just, I know though there are those of you who like teaching and, the preaching aspect of it. And I enjoy those too. There's a time and a place for it. But tonight, I just want to have an intimate conversation with you about the autopsy. Tonight, we're going to be talking about and starting the official start of the Autopsy series. Autopsy. That's right. Autopsy. We've all heard that word before as it relates to death, right? The Autopsy series. I can't repeat that enough because I want you to get a visual in your head. The Autopsy series. What caused the death of your marriage? What was the reason your relationship died? Do you know? Have you come to terms with it? Or do you need to start the autopsy process to get a better understanding of how that relationship died? Were there things that you could have prevented? Did the relationship or the marriage have pre-existing conditions that you were aware of? Were the pre-existing conditions something that were fixable? Was there something, was the information presented up front? Or did you discover it in the process of your relationship? Did you have an opportunity to prepare yourself for the side effects or just the effects of those pre-existing conditions? Were you equipped to deal with it? Did you take on something that inevitably was going to be fatal? It could not be fixed. See, we're going to talk about all of that during this entire series, and I am in no rush to get to any. And when I tell you, I have a list of things that we are going to be diving into and taking a look, and I'm going to be providing examples. I need you to know and buckle up, because this series is not for the weak of heart. It's not. This series is not for those who are living in denial. This series is not for those who are used to social media influencers or social media stars who come on the camera for a good 3 minutes and say something that speaks to your spirit and pop, 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 and then they're gone without leaving you with something that you can ponder on in an effort to get a better understanding, transitioning you into a place where you can begin to either fix that situation, fix what is wrong within, and or heal it. Not just someone saying something spicy, something that sounds good, and then go. It sounds good, but does it motivate you to do the work? Does it motivate you to get a better understanding of the role that you played in the demise of your relationship? Does it motivate you to change? Does it inspire you to want to do better? And last but not least, does it invoke feelings of, I might can salvage this thing because now I see where we started to lose the pulse in the relationship. That's what this series is, okay? Now, if you're with me so far, if you are still with me and you're interested, make sure, okay? Make sure that you begin helping the diva by spreading the word on the things that we are going to be talking about. So when I was in preparation for this series, I thought of a movie that we were all, and I say we all, I mean collectively, we were all applauding when it came out a few years ago. We were all like, oh, this is a good body of work. And when I thought about the name, The Autopsy, this movie came to mind. But for those of you who are not quite making the connection yet, before we talk about this movie, you do know that when an autopsy is performed, there's usually a question mark over the reason for the death of a person. Or law enforcement and or the family is concerned that there may be foul play or there could be other contributing factors to the death of said person. So they perform an autopsy to get very specific details as to why this individual is no longer living. When the professionals perform the autopsy, they go through a series of different tasks in order to pinpoint what this particular person died of. Was it natural causes? Was it foul play? Was it self-inflicted? Could it have been prevented? I mean, it's a host of things that they are either trying to eliminate and or pinpoint. That's what I think of when I think of an autopsy. And they have so many shows on the ID network that are dedicated to helping law enforcement solve crimes. Especially, when we talk about the ID network, especially the series Snapped, when they get to digging and finding out, when this person did something to that person because the relationship wasn't going in the direction that they wanted, and it's usually the woman, it's called snap. When they start digging and digging, oh, such and such didn't die like she said, or led us to believe, or wanted us to believe, because the autopsy shows, you get it? So back to this movie, guys. Do you remember the movie by Tyler Perry, the movie Acrimony? The movie Acrimony. Very good body of work by Tyler Perry. To me, one of my favorites outside of The Family That Prays. I mean, this particular movie really had a lot of layers to it. And I remember at the beginning of the movie, there was the definition of the word acrimony. And let me read it for you. Acrimony, anger and bitterness. Example of acrimony in a marriage, full of anger. The arguments are full of anger and bad feelings, being nasty with each other. That's what acrimony basically means, full of anger, resentment, bitterness, all of that. So just to walk you back through it, and there may be a small percentage of people that come across the show that have not seen the movie. The movie starts off, there are three sisters. They're very, very tight. And the death of the mother causes them to bond at one point. One of the sisters at an early age got involved with a guy while she was in college. While she was in college, there were signs. There were signs that there was, some growing up that needed to be done. She caught him cheating with a girl, and she had this fit of rage that she allowed to consume her. She allowed rage to consume her to the point, and this is very important, at a young age, young adult, she caught a then boyfriend cheating. She allowed the emotions to overwhelm her, and she took her car and she rammed it into his RV, the little RV that he was living out of. He was in there with a girlfriend. They had been intimate, and she rammed it and she destroyed his home. And in the process, she destroyed her ability to ever have children. Allowing your emotions to fester and overtake you, okay? That was the first thing that happened. After her mom died, she got a big old mess of money, a crap load of money. The sisters were concerned that she was going through this money. And a lot of the money she spent on this man, this young man. They got married, they started living the life, and all he was dedicated to at that time was perfecting his craft and his invention. He believed in himself. She did too. For years she did. She believed in her husband. The sisters, there were two sisters. They were very bitter. They didn't think too highly of this guy. And you can kind of understand that this is someone who has, not really done right by your family member. She has lost her ability to ever have kids behind you. Not excusing what she did, but you was part of the reason that she acted the way that she did, because you were cheating on her with this girl. Well, guys, as the movie progresses, the money runs out. And as the money runs out, he is really closer to achieving his dream. Very, very close. The more the money runs out, the more the sisters are in her ear. The more the sisters are in her ear, the more bitter and angry and less tolerant. She has no patience for him. She talks to him like a low-down, dirty dog, like he is beneath her. To the point that it gets so out of control that you can really see that she has a level of disgust for her husband that is really unholy and unhealthy. Now, she's a grown woman with her own marriage, her own set of problems, her own bills. She went broke behind it because he hasn't worked a day in his life. All the bills were on her, and all the money was drained from her bank account. and she let her sister talk a bad situation from a molehill to a mountain. And it just got worse. Well, remember the girl that he was cheating with when they were younger? This woman now is a major player at the company that he needs to get his invention in front of before the members of the body or the people the decision makers in that company. She was the person. And while he was trying to orchestrate this process or whatever, he withheld certain information from his wife. The sisters were constantly in her ear. One thing led to another. Something as innocent as him trying to achieve his dream, unfortunately with the woman when they were kids that he got caught creeping with, it looked like he was cheating. Now again, with the girl that he was cheating with, which is the reason why the wife can't no longer have any babies. So in her eyes, the sisters, the pop in her ear, not only has he not paid any bills, you done lost this house that our mother left you. You done ran through all your money. You got nothing to show. And he out here cheating on you with the same chick from 20 something years ago. And she ripped him into shreds. She did. She ripped him into, it was painful. Do you guys remember that? It was so painful watching her talk to him like that. Oh my God. Taraji played that role. Amen. She played that. Oh Lord, she played that role. I felt for him because we in the audience, we could see everything. Whereas her character couldn't see anything. She was so angry. She had to move in with her sister. She's listening to them. They still with their man, okay? But they didn't help her talk her out of her marriage, right? They're still with their man, but now you don't have yours. And what was the crazy thing about it is the invention that he had been working on all those years, finally, he got his big breakthrough. We're talking about millions of dollars. He got his breakthrough. He was not cheating with that girl, but that girl who became that woman who became a staple in his story helped him push to the finish line. At no point had he ever cheated on his wife, despite what her sisters were telling her. And now y'all know how the story goes. He got his big break. Taraji's character did divorce him. He tried to win her back. He really did. He tried to win her back. He wanted her back. He wanted her back, but she was too blind to see what role she was playing or the things that she allowed to happen to get her to the point that she was in then. This man showed up at her job and wrote her a check for a good, healthy amount. She wasn't broke. She didn't even have to work at that point. And then she had her light bulb moment. Then she started to realize you was listening to the wrong people. Then she started to realize their marriages wasn't all that anyway. Then she started to realize what she had in her husband. But you know what? It was too late. Then she became obsessed with trying to get him back, okay? Now she's obsessed with trying to get him back, fixated on the new chick, blaming the new woman for stealing her life when, baby, you handed that away. You literally gave that man away. She literally drove herself crazy and looked like a total nutcase, all behind a bad decision to listen to the wrong people about her marriage. And I've talked about this on my shows, especially on the ministry channels, protecting your relationship. And I've been communicating for quite some time. We have to be protective of our relationships, especially when we're going through our seasons of struggle, or you may call it a storm, when things are not right. And, that happens to us all. Don't be ashamed. And you ain't got to say, that don't happen to me. It does. It happens to all of us. No one is exempt. Okay. But you got to protect. You can't be venting to everybody. You can't be sharing with everybody. I say this all the time, even with the best of intentions, family members can really give you some bad advice or get in the way, and the enemy can use them to be the entry point into your relationship, okay? To begin to cause even more problems and stir the pot. And I remember watching that movie, even then thinking, you're the reason that you don't have him anymore. You are the reason you don't have that husband anymore. You stop believing in that man because of what somebody else told you, because of a seed they planted in your head, and you allowed them access to you. That's one thing. But when you allow them to talk down on your husband, that was another thing. And you allowed that, and that seed took root in you. And you mistreated that man and mishandled that man throughout that entire process. He did everything he said he was going to do, even when he didn't even have to. He came back and paid you back every dime and made sure that the house that you lost, believing in him at the time, he bought that house back and gave it back to you. Gave you a check, handed you a bouquet of flowers and said, thank you. But it was too late. I gave that example as a segue into the series. And I want to ask those of you who may have connected with that now that I brought that back up to the forefront of your mind and now it's fresh. Could you, at some point, be guilty for the death or the demise of your relationship, of your marriage? You may not be 100% at fault, okay? Let's be clear. I'm not pointing the blame. This is a series dedicated to understanding your role and what happened. Because the covenant, or if you're not in the covenant, your committed relationship at some point meant something to you. At some point, things went wrong. Things began to change. There was a shift that you noticed and did nothing about, or that you noticed and felt helpless. You didn't have the answers at the time, or that you noticed, but you didn't exactly have a name to associate with what you were seeing. So what could some of those things be? As we began to talk about what caused the death of your marriage, okay? How did your relationship begin to die? You know, some of the things that we're going to talk about, again, are not going to be easy. We're going to start with ignoring the check engine light. Mm-hmm. Ignoring the red flags. Mm-hmm. That was the start of the death of your marriage or your relationship. Get honest with yourself. Were there some things now that you look back? Because hindsight is 20/20. What were the things that you saw happening that you didn't say anything about, that you let slide? What were the red flags that you ignored? What things were going on that you didn't say anything about, either for the sake of keeping the peace, for the sake of not wanting to turn a bad situation worse, not wanting to have another argument, or simply maybe because you was doing your dirt, or because you know that you had some things going on in the relationship or the marriage that were not quite right. So you felt as if you had no right to point out certain things that you know wasn't right. And I'm saying to you, acknowledge your role, but then too, you also simultaneously have to address the fact that you saw the red flags. You knew the check engine light was there and you failed to do anything about it. And you may be asking, okay, but Diva, what could the check engine light be? For instance, knowing that you're not spending enough time together, knowing that your spouse or your significant other is finding reasons not to be at home, or this could be you working late, finding reasons to work overtime, or lying about working late, finding excuses to do things without you. Now you have went from spending quality time together, enjoying one another's company, doing the things that couples do, pouring into one another. What used to be effortless with just hanging out with your best friend and the person that you love, now it's a problem. You're finding that you're not spending any time together. And when it is, it's short-lived or it's few and far in between. Ignoring the check engine light. That should have been a sign that something is wrong. And I get it. Because I'm talking to grown people here. Most of us have jobs and careers, and we don't have a whole lot of time to be sitting around trying to act like we're teenagers. Because again, some of you are still having children and raising children. Some of you have a lot of responsibilities as it relates to other members of your family, possibly parents, aging parents, children going off to college and being very involved with your children and their extracurricular activities and the things that they get into, and just being a parent. And then you have your social circles, and then you have church life or your spiritual life. And then you have time that you want for yourself, that you need for yourself, to yourself. You have all of these different things that as an adult that come with being an adult. But despite all of this, you can never neglect the time that is needed and necessary to pour back into your partner, to pour back into your marriage, to make it sustainable. And if you notice that there was not enough time being spent together, if you notice that you were spending less and less time and you did nothing about it, that's a problem. That's a problem. Because the more time that you spent away from one another, the more leeway, the more you were giving the enemy permission to come on in and have a seat. Because if I'm not spending time with you like I should, as we should, as needed, as a couple, we're not checking in with one another. We're not fully engaged and involved with each other's lives to make sure that, baby, are your needs met? Are you okay? Is there anything going on with you we want to talk about? Or just to have some couples time, some time to plug into one another. Let's reignite this thing. Make sure you're good. Make sure that I'm taking care of you so that you can take care of me. Making sure that, your needs are met before you go outside of the home to make that living and to face the world. But if we're not spending time together, if we're not communicating as we should and connecting and having the conversation and having and applying the comprehension needed with the conversation, that is a recipe and a setup for disaster. And if you notice this, now that we're having the dialogue, you can see where and how things begin to fall apart. You cannot effectively have a relationship with anyone that you're not spending quality time with. It just doesn't work like that. And you may be saying to yourself, what could I have done different? Because I had this going on, I had that going on. they had this going on and that. Or you may be saying things were so bad that neither one of us wanted to spend time. Or damn it, Diva, I begged her to spend time with her. I begged him to spend time with me. I was crying about it. They always found an excuse. They always found a reason. They always wanted to fight right before we were supposed to do something together. It was always a problem when it came down to us spending time together. That is not my fault. I get you. I get exactly what you're saying. It is not your fault, because you can't make a person spend time with you if they don't want to. But let me tell you something. At least now you can see where things began to change, right? We can acknowledge that this person wasn't willing to give you and the relationship or the marriage what you needed in order to sustain it, in order to keep the relationship afloat, in order to keep the connection solid. And then we could go off into other areas with it. Why aren't you wanting to spend time? Is it because the relationship had become strained, or were there other outside factors that played into your decision not to want to spend time with your partner, with your spouse, with your significant other? Some of those reasons could be a job. Maybe there was a financial hardship going on in the home, or maybe you guys were trying to avoid one. Maybe your partner or you lost focus and it became less stressful to hang out with friends or other people besides one another. So you started spending more time with other people, doing other things to entertain yourself. And last but definitely not least, sometimes when people make up in their minds they want to leave you for somebody else, they create reasons not to spend time together because they want to get the hell on and get out the door to spend time with the person that they're cheating with, or that they have some level of interest and they are nurturing this new illicit affair. We're going to call it for what it is. Most of the time when you start having to, and I hate to say this word, but let's just call it for what it is because we're all grown folk. Most of the time when you see that you have reduced yourself, because honey, I've been there, okay? Experience is a good teacher. I've been married twice, okay? This is my second marriage. When you notice that you now have been reduced to having to beg your spouse to spend time with you, and they're giving you pushback, and even if they don't say no, they're giving you an attitude, and you know they really don't want to be there with you, things are bad. Things are bad, and they don't care how bad it has gotten. And it would seem that at times they're trying to speed up the process to get to the end of the relationship because they want out. The Autopsy series, that is what we're discussing. This is the series where we're getting into it. And one of the first things on the autopsy report that could have been causing the death or a contributing factor to the death of your relationship is ignoring the check engine light in your relationship, ignoring or refusing to address the red flags in your marriage or your relationship. What could you have done different? That is the question that I want to leave you with. What could you have done different? What should you have done different? Could you have maybe prayed a little more? Because we can't force people to do anything that they don't want to do. All right? Amen? We can't. And if you were in the right mind to start addressing those things as you begin to see them happen, ask yourself, did you handle them properly? Did you handle it right? Did you approach it biblically and or in the right way? Was your approach one that compounded the problem, or definitely was a step in the right direction, but you were met with rejection? Okay, those are the things that I need you to ask yourself until we reconvene this conversation. Okay, for the next time we get together and start talking about another contributing factor on the autopsy report. But I'm going to leave you with this tonight. One of the first things we've talked about as a contributing factor to the death of your relationship or your marriage, refusing, okay, to address the red flags or ignoring the check engine light. Okay, we talked about earlier in this particular episode or broadcast, were there pre-existing conditions in the relationship that you were aware of or that were hidden from you? And if you were not aware of those pre-existing conditions, why were you not aware? Did you not check all the boxes? Did you spend enough time with this person before committing to them in a relationship? Those pre-existing conditions are very important when you're trying to have longevity with this partner, with this person in this relationship. Because let me tell you, if some of the pre-existing conditions in this marriage or in this relationship were things such as, let's go back to some of the reasons that we talked about a little bit with people not wanting to spend time with you. If infidelity or adultery was a pre-existing condition that came with this person, meaning if this person has always been one to have never been faithful to anyone in any relationship ever in life, were you aware of that? Were you aware that being monogamous was not this person's strong suit? Or were you delusional in thinking that this person was going to make this change, miraculous change with you? Did you see potential versus the reality of this person? Looking at the track record, if this person has been rigorously unfaithful to every partner they've ever been with, and they refuse to either acknowledge it, address it, have the conversation, and place that information on the table with a strategy as to how it would be different with you, you were setting yourself up for a relationship full of disappointment because they've had no practice in being monogamous. Was that one of the pre-existing conditions that you were dealing with, that you were just hopeful versus looking at the reality of it? These are the things that we have to get honest with ourselves about. Another pre-existing condition. Did you get into a marriage or a relationship with someone who has a substance abuse issue or problem? Things like that fall under the umbrella of pre-existing conditions. Were you aware of them? Or did you discover this information in the journey when things started to fall apart, when things started to make no sense at all? And you're wondering, where is this coming from? How did we get here? What the hell? Pre-existing conditions. They've been like that. They've been like that. You were just now discovering that they were like that. So guys, this has been the first installment of the Autopsy series, okay? What caused the death of your marriage? What caused your relationship to die? My name is Angela Patarial, and make sure that you tell your friends and come back for the next episode and installment of the Autopsy series as we begin to dig deeper and dive more into the reasons for the death of relationships and coming out of this land of delusion and denial and start owning up to some of the things that happened that caused our relationships to fall apart. Because you know what? Sometimes hindsight is 20/20. And sometimes there may be a few people out there that can get honest with themselves and can say, you know what? Okay, now looking back, this is that, and now I recognize it for what it is, and it may be salvageable. It may be something that God can assist you with turning that thing around. Yes, restoration could be possible for some of you. Granted, we are talking about the Autopsy series. However, we're talking about the death of the relationship, not the person, right? So resurrection is possible for your relationship. Never forget the story of Lazarus. But I want you to come back here for the next installment of the Autopsy series as we begin to talk about more of the things that contribute to the death and the demise of our marriages and our relationship, as we begin to move in the direction of finding solutions and finding your way back to wholeness as a person and in your marriages and relationships. My name is Angela Potariel. This has been the Diva Speaks Relationships Talk Show, okay? The Diva Speaks Relationships Talk Show. That's right. Make sure that you tell a friend. Make sure that you add the Diva Speaks Relationships Roku channel on your Roku device or on your Fire Stick, your Amazon Fire Stick at Diva Speaks Relationships TV. Make sure that you check out my website. It is a one-stop shop for all things Diva Speaks related. There are some tools and resources over there available for you. Please check it out. You'll see what I'm talking about. And until the next time, my name is Angela Patarial. The Diva has spoken.
My heart and my soul, yeah. my heart and my soul.